Welcome to Breaking News to Trading Moves.
Glad to be here.
Today we're looking at a pretty significant market headline. One that really helps us sort out who's currently doing well in the battery economy and who's facing some headwinds.
Yeah, that's right. It stems from the news out of Albemarle. They're one of the world's largest lithium producers.
And the news wasn't good, was it?
No, not at all. They reported a, frankly, staggering third-quarter loss, over $1 billion.
Oh,
And it really just underscores this deep, ongoing slump in lithium prices that we've been seeing for, well, over a year now.
okay, so that's the core event. And our job today, for you listening, is to break down this environment of, let's call it cost compression. We want to figure out which specific parts of the battery and EV world are actually benefiting from these lower costs and which segments are really feeling the squeeze.
Exactly. And to do that, we have to start with the basic mechanic, right? Lithium isn't just some minor ingredient. Its price swings have huge consequences across the board. When the cost of lithium carbonate or, hydroxide drops like this, it directly cuts down the biggest variable cost in making a battery cell.
Okay, but how big a deal is that really? I mean, lithium is just one part of the battery pack, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is this price drop truly enough to, say, change the game for a giant automaker, or is it more like, a bit nice to have relief?
Oh, it's substantial. It definitely matters, especially when you're talking scale. Think about battery costs. They're usually measured in dollars per kilowatt hour, kilohours.
Right.
So a major drop in a key raw material like lithium means every single battery cell gets cheaper to make. Instantly.
Okay.
And that directly impacts things like profit targets for EV platforms. It completely changes the math for big energy storage projects, too.
Got it. That really clarifies the stakes. So let's move on to the winners then. The winner's circle, if you will.
Yeah.
These are the companies downstream benefiting because, well, their inputs just got a lot cheaper. First up, the obvious ones. U.S. EV manufacturers.
Yeah, they get an immediate boost. Lower raw material costs give them really critical flexibility, especially now.
Flexibility how?
Well, two ways, really. They can keep vehicle prices where they are and just enjoy better profit margins, which is pretty important in today's market.
Sure.
Or they can use that saving to cut prices on their cars, maybe stimulate some demand that they really need right now.
And we're talking the big players here, the ones needing every edge they can find, like Tesla, that's TSLA, General Motors, GM, and Ford, $5. For them, this kind of cost relief must be welcome, helping offset other pressures like, say, rising labor costs or other supply chain issues.
Absolutely. It provides a bit of breathing room.
Okay, so beyond the cars themselves, what's the next winning category? You mentioned infrastructure.
Right. The grid storage integrators and also the solar+storage installers. Think big batteries for the grid. And also adding batteries to home solar.
Now, for those big utility projects, I often hear about long-term contracts. So does today's low lithium price really mean cheaper projects today? Or is this more of a benefit that kicks in, say, 18 months down the line when they sign new deals for battery cells?
That's a really important distinction. And it's not just about existing contracts.
Okay.
While some older deals might be locked in, the new project pipeline gets a boost almost immediately.
How so?
Well, think about how these projects get financed. When banks or utilities are deciding whether to build a huge, say, 4-hour battery storage facility, the main thing they look at is the projected cost per kilowatt hour, the kilodollar a number. If that number drops because lithium is cheaper,
More projects look financially viable.
exactly. More projects suddenly meet the required return thresholds, they pass the internal rate of return hurdle, and they get the green light sooner. So it directly supports higher deployment volume, starting now.
So this lower price environment is actually helping to grow the whole market for these grid and residential storage systems.
Yep.
And we're seeing this help companies like Fluence Energy, FLNC, and STEM. They focus on the big utility scale stuff. And even residential players like Sunrun, Gruen. Better project economics means more gets built.
Precisely. Now, there's a third category of winners, and this one might be a bit less obvious.
Oh, go on.
It's the next-gen battery tech developers, companies working on solid-state or other advanced chemistries.
Really? That's surprising. I might have thought the opposite. If standard lithium-ion batteries get cheaper, wouldn't that make expensive experimental tech look even less competitive?
It seems counterintuitive, I know, but think about the challenges these next-gen companies face while they're still trying to scale up production.
Okay, high costs, low volume.
Exactly. They have technical hurdles, sure, but also really high initial manufacturing costs because they aren't making millions of cells yet.
Right.
So when the cost of the other stuff in the battery pack the standard materials they still use, like casings, separators, electrolytes, even if they change the anode or cathode, when that cost comes down because of cheaper lithium affecting the whole supply chain, it actually helps their overall unit economics.
Ah, I see. So it kind of cushions the blow of their own high-cost, low-volume production phase.
You got it. It lowers the financial penalty, makes the total system cost look a bit better for potential customers who are running pilots or trials.
Okay.
If it's cheaper for, say, an automaker to test out a batch of new solid-state cells because the rest of the pack is less expensive.
It makes them more likely to do it. It accelerates testing and adoption.
Exactly. Which is crucial for companies like QuantumScape, that's QS, Enovix, ENVX, and Microvast, MVST, as they push towards commercial scale.
That makes sense. Okay, so we've spent some time on the winners enjoying these cheaper inputs. Now we need to flip the coin and look at the losers. Who's actually bearing the cost of this deflation?
Well, the pain starts right at the source, doesn't it? The U.S.-listed lithium producers themselves.
Like Albemarle, whose news kicked this off.
Precisely. Their losses are direct and pretty severe. When the price they actually get for their lithium resets lower and you have this persistent market surplus.
Meaning too much supply.
Yeah, often driven by new global supply coming online faster than demand in the short term, it just crushes their margins.
And that leads straight to the kind of billion-dollar loss Albemarle reported. It must put immense strain on their finances, their whole operation.
It absolutely does. Companies like Albemarle, ALB, Arcadium Lithium, ALTM, that's the merged Livent and Alchem entity, and Lithium Americas, LAC.
Yeah.
They're all being forced to pull back hard on spending, revising their capital expenditure plans, cutting financial forecasts. You just can't keep spending on big growth projects when the price of your main product tanks.
Makes sense. Painful, but logical. Okay, moving to the second group, feeling the pain. You mentioned early-stage developers. These are companies not even producing lithium yet.
That's right. The U.S.-listed lithium developers, they might have promising projects, but the weak price environment hits them maybe even harder in some ways.
Why is that? If they aren't selling yet, aren't they insulated?
It's all about funding the future. These projects cost billions to build. They rely entirely on convincing banks and partners to make a final investment decision, an FID.
Okay, the FID. That's the big green light to start construction, right?
Exactly. And that decision hinges crucially on the projected future price of lithium. That's what determines if the project loan makes sense.
So if lithium is super cheap today,
the bank or the potential partner looks at the plan and gets nervous. They say, look, the revenue you projected 5 years out based on higher prices back when you applied looks much weaker now.
so the risk is higher.
Precisely. The whole project looks riskier, or we need much better terms from you. It drives up their cost of capital. It causes delays in getting that crucial FID.
And delays can be fatal for these early-stage companies.
They absolutely can. We're talking about names like Standard Lithium, FLNC, Sigma Lithium, Cello GML, and Atlas Lithium, ATLX. Weak prices threaten their very ability to get projects off the ground.
Okay, a tough spot for them. Now, the third category of losers is one I find really interesting, maybe the most counterintuitive. Battery recyclers. Companies like Li-Cycle, LACY, and American Battery Technology, AB Tyche. We always hear recycling is crucial for sustainability, for the circular economy. So why are they hurt by cheap new lithium?
It boils down to their basic business model. Recycling works economically when there's a healthy gap, a spread, between the value of the metals they recover.
Like lithium, cobalt, nickel.
Right. Between the value of those recovered materials and the actual cost of extracting them, which is a complex and expensive process.
Okay, makes sense. Like any recycling, really.
Let me try a quick analogy just with made-up numbers to illustrate.
Please do.
Okay, let's say, hypothetically, it costs $1,000 to process 1 ton of old batteries and get the valuable metals back out.
Got it. $1,000 cost.
Now, if newly mined virgin lithium is expensive, say the equivalent value in that ton is $2,000, then maybe the total value of all recovered metals is, let's say, $1,500.
Okay, so $1,500 value minus $1,000 cost leaves a $500 profit margin. Seems workable.
Right. A healthy margin to run the business, pay off the expensive plant you built. But what happens when the price of virgin lithium collapses, like it has?
Uh-oh.
If that newly mined lithium is now so cheap that the value of the recovered metals in that same ton of batteries drops to, say, only $1,050.
$1,050 value minus the $1,000 cost leaves only $50 margin.
Exactly. And that tiny margin is likely not enough to justify the huge investment in building and operating these complex recycling facilities. Why go through all that expensive processing if manufacturers can just buy cheap, new raw materials easily?
So cheap virgin materials directly undercut the economics of recycling. It increases the risk for these recycling projects significantly.
That's the core challenge they face right now.
Okay, so let's try to summarize this. The headline from Albemarle really highlights this split in the market, doesn't it? On one hand, you have the lithium producers and the developers facing intense pressure on their margins, on their spending, even on their viability.
Serious pressure.
But on the other hand, the downstream players, the EV makers, the grid storage folks, even the next-gen battery companies, they're getting this significant cost relief.
Yeah, it's a benefit for them.
And potentially, that relief could actually help speed up adoption and growth in those segments, sort of balancing out the pain upstream.
It's certainly acting as a tailwind for the downstream users, yes. Which leads to a really interesting final thought, maybe something for you, the listener, to chew on based on what we've discussed.
Okay, what's that?
Well, considering how much the economics of battery recycling depend on that spread, on recovered materials being valuable compared to virgin ones.
Yep.
If we see sustained low prices for virgin lithium over the long term, what does that really mean for the feasibility of building out that truly closed-loop circular battery economy that everyone talks about to make it much harder to achieve?
That's a really important question to ponder.
Okay.
Okay, before we wrap up, the necessary reminder.
Yes.
Please remember, the content presented today is for informational purposes only. This is not financial advice.
No.
And the names, sector, and tickers we discussed, like TSLA, $7, $5, FLNC, STEM 3OS, MVX, MVST, LBST, LB, LTEM, LEXLA, 5LA, 7LS, LMUI, and ABAT, are purely the opinion of the author.
That's right.
They should definitely not be considered buy or sell recommendations. Do your own research.